Hey, 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 it's Shelley Shell with another episode of Evolve Women's MMA. And this episode, I'm going to go over a little bit of this last weekend's fight between Holly Holm and Germaine De Randamie. So, I don't know about you, but it was kind of a crazy card to start with. Not really all that enticing for fans. And, it was a pay-per-view, pay for the fight. And, there weren't very many people out at the bar watching. But I was there. And I watched, and it wasn't too bad. The full card wasn't bad. The fights were good. The guys did a good job and stuff. It was really kind of cool to see Anderson Silva fight again, and I was really, kind of afraid for him because you don't want to see somebody, an icon like that lose. And I sat there and almost like had my hands over my eyes because I was like, oh my God, please don't lose, or how's this going to be? Please don't hurt yourself. Don't break your leg again. And he kind of reminds me of whenever I'm watching Dan Henderson. I do the same thing because I love these guys, and I just kind of, have a pillow in front of my face before I watch the fight, and I'm like, and then you're like, okay, it's up, they're getting killed, and then you're like, I can't watch, and then all of a sudden they knock somebody out or something, like Dan Henderson always comes back from like being dead, and then he wins. Well, Anderson Silva ended up winning. It wasn't like a really great, phenomenal fight. It went all 3 rounds, but he did start to get his groove back, and he started to look like Anderson Silva again. But in the beginning, he was kind of feeling the guy out, and it was good to see him back. And one of the things, it really got to your heart, I'm sure as a fan, if you were watching, when he broke down at the end after he won, when Joe Rogan was talking to him, it was a big win for him, and watching him, the emotion and everything, because he just wanted to be in there and play. That's all he wanted to do, and you could tell he was so happy and so thrilled to be there to play and be in the sport. I don't think it really mattered for him to win or lose, but the win was like a good win for him, and it was really exciting to see. So then we went to the main event. And we got Holly Holm and Germaine De Randamie. And that fight was without a little bit of controversy. I mean, we already talked about, why did this fight happen? It was kind of weird anyways for it to happen. Where was Cyborg and all this? Which she was in the stands. They showed her. I was psyched to see that. So she must be on good terms with Dana right now. And there's probably a possibility that she will fight whoever is, the winner. But that still remains to be kind of seen, because there's still going to be a little bit with that. But anyways, back to the fight. Holly Holm and Germaine De Randamie, went 5 rounds. I think in the beginning they were just kind of feeling each other out. Holly Holm was kind of running a little bit on the outside of the ring a lot, and doing these like little bursts of going in on De Randamie, and a flurry of punches, and then ending with a kick. But this was throughout the whole fight, and everybody thought she looked really good and everything throughout the whole fight. But in my opinion, she never tagged. She never really hit her. It was all these flurries, but nothing that really did any damage. And De Randamie was controlling the center of the ring for most of the fight. So letting it go to the judges is really, number one, you never let it go to the judges. And she didn't do... Everybody's rooting for Holly Holm. We already know that. Everybody's rooting for her. And she knew, too, that you can't let it go to the judges. But anyways, we have a new champ for the featherweight division, and it was my pick. It was DeRandamie, but as I said, it was without controversy. The biggest thing about that was the after the bell punches. I think it was the third round. DeRandamie hit Holly Holm, like slugged her with 2 punches way after the bell. And it was very obvious, and I can just remember being like, oh my God, I can't believe they just happened. So a lot of criticism went towards the poor referee who got, I think it must have been his first time reffing. I'm only kidding. But it seemed like it to fans. Fight fans were like, what the fuck? Twitter blew up like crazy with even like all the pro fighters were like, what the hell? What's that ref doing? And especially when it happened again, DeRandamie went at Holly Holm after, had a punch after the bell, or actually it kind of was on the bell. I think it was in the fourth round, and no points were taken away. She got warned the first time, but no points were taken away the second time. So people were pretty upset about that. And then when it came down to the end, people were like, the fight probably should have went to Holm because a point would have been taken away. However, that wasn't the case. DeRandamie won by decision, and a unanimous decision, and Holly Holm lost. So there's a lot of fans that are boo-hooing this, and Holly even afterwards really didn't look too thrilled with the outcome. Standing there, not having her hand raised, she looked kind of pissed off, and it kind of became apparent that she was pretty upset, I think, at the post-fight interviews. DeRandamie, she ended up going to the hospital for, I guess, a hand injury. I think it was her thumb, and I guess she hurt her ligaments in her thumb or whatever, so she won't be back, but she didn't look like she took she looked completely fine after the fight, other than her hair got messed up, she, so I was kind of surprised to hear that after the fact. I don't know what's happening with her thumb, but we'll get back to that later. But back to Holly, which she was really beat up. And I don't know if, I think it was like her left eye and left lip or something. She looked kind of pretty damaged there. I don't know if that was from the third round punch after the bell, because she said that was the hardest hit that she took from DeRandamie. But when I watched the fight, it was like even though Holly put on more punches and probably connected with a kick and stuff, DeRandamie looked like she made more connection with punches than Holly did throughout the whole fight. And one of the most irritating things about the fight was Holly kind of would tie her up against the cage, and it reminded me of how Randy Couture used to hold fighters, that wrestling move where they hold them up to the cage, and this is another thing why people are probably pissed off at the referee, and just holding her up against the cage and nothing happening. There'd be like little knees, but there was one point where they're both like, their knees are going like at each other's legs. It was like, I'm like, this reminds me of like, amateur fight or whatever. And I probably shouldn't even say that, it's kind of insulting, but there was one point where they were doing like just little knees. They do some damage, but I'm thinking the ref could have broken that up. There wasn't anything happening. And I think a lot of fans probably were thinking the same. A lot of fighters were probably thinking the same, that were watching this. And, why is this still a main event title bout? I don't think anybody wants to see that happen again. It's kind of like you're cringing a little bit. I'm happy for the girls that they have this opportunity and stuff, but I don't know. It was fun to watch, but it wasn't, definitely not a title fight. So anyways, this whole, holding her up against the cage, and then they'd get back. I think there was one time the ref pulled them off the cage, which was thank you. As a fan, you wanted them to. And then they would start brawling, flurries of punches and kicks, and any of Holly's kicks weren't really amounted to anything. But in that third round, or I think it was the third round, Holly landed a freaking nice kick. Germaine dropped down to a knee, and then she kicked her again on the other side of the head, I think. But then Germaine got right back up and went at her like a bullet, like just zoomed in on her. So she didn't do any damage to her. I mean, it didn't look like she did any damage. And then there was the bell, but there was an after hit, an after punch or whatever, which, again, the referee did not call or give DeRandamie any points taken away or anything. And I think Dana White was like a little, I think he had said too, his phone had blown up. And people were like, what the hell with the ref? You know, who put this ref in there? All this sort of stuff. But we have to remember, this was in New York. And maybe there should have been more experienced referee in there for their second time having a UFC fight or an MMA, mixed martial arts fight. Maybe they should have called upon somebody else who was more experienced with that. I mean, they had plenty of guys out of Massachusetts. I'll give a shout out to Kevin McDonald because he was there and he reffed one of the fights. Maybe he should have been during that one. It would have been a lot nicer to see somebody that we knew local. But we didn't. We had some, guy, what the heck was his name? Maybe I shouldn't say it. Poor guy is scorned for the rest of his life. I'm like, damn, what the hell was his name? Oh, God, poor bastard. What the heck is his name? I'll look that up. See, we're not even going to remember it. He'll go down as the most infamous referee of all time, Todd Anderson. Oh, poor dude. He definitely is going to, has probably heard a lot about that. So anyways, it went to the Holly Holm afterwards, when I was watching her post-fight interview, she was definitely not happy with the results. And one of the questions that was asked was, did you think those punches were intentional? And, I was thinking that too, and I think everybody was thinking, were they intentional by DeRandamie? And which really sucks if that's the case. It's really poor sportsmanship, and to do that, and a fighter should have control when they hear the bell. But then on the other side of it is sometimes you're in that moment and you don't hear those things because it's loud in the arena or whatever. But I can't imagine it being too loud in there because there were empty seats. It looked like there were empty seats there. So that's not an excuse. But Holly definitely stated that she felt it was intentional. She's like, yeah, it was freaking intentional. And, but DeRandamie said it wasn't. She's like, oh, no, I just got caught up in the thing. But how many times do you get caught up in the thing, like in the fight or whatever, and just not be aware, especially when the referee is, I'm on the side of the referee. He was in between them. He was in between them when those shots came. I think both times. So in his defense, it's kind of like that weird kind of, the whole fight was weird before, during, and after. I haven't even got into after. But before it was weird because we get the cyborg issue, why she wasn't on that card. And then we have the during, which was weird. Now we got the freaking after. Okay, so DeRandamie won. She looked pretty good afterwards, except for, again, the hair thing. Her corner definitely could have fixed her hair, like when she was going on TV. Slick that sucker back, it is a girl thing, but it's important. She's the freaking champ now, she's got to look good. And I'm like, guys, you got to think of these things, all right, for your girls in the corner. I know there's not another girl in the corner with her. There was all men, but help the girl out. Because she had one side of her hair all puffed up and the other side slicked back. It looked like Bozo the Clown or something. I don't know. I forgot where I was going to go with that. But afterwards, De Randamie, I guess, went to the hospital. She didn't go to the post-fight conference because of this thumb thing. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a little odd. Thumb isn't that bad of an injury. Really isn't. She could have gone to the conference and talked to the media. But, I couldn't find anything online. I don't know if she did or didn't, but it appears she went to the hospital. And, Holly Holm's there all damaged. I mean, her face looked pretty beaten up, and she's sad and humiliated, and she's talking about it. And I'm like, all right, you go, Holly. And it kind of leaves it up in the air. It's like, okay, what's going to happen with this? Because there was some talk about De Randamie, who is now the champ, that, she's going to have to rest or go on. Oh no, I'm like, what the hell? And if you go on the UFC site and you look at how many fighters they have for the featherweight, they just have those two up. I'm like, they don't have anybody else up in that division. I'm like, what the WTF? This makes absolutely no sense. All right. Why do they, now you kind of understand, they had nobody to put on this card maybe for New York or something. They're like, okay, let's just throw this together. Let's just throw this fight together and see what happens. Yeah, I don't even know. Like, what's going on with them? I mean, I know the company, somebody else owns them, so who knows what's going on there. But, so my 2 cents about the thumb thing is to get her back quicker. Is years ago, this was a long time ago in my very early beginnings when I was training in jiu-jitsu, and I injured my thumb, and it was a ligament kind of thing. And if you can't, if you don't have your thumbs, man, you can't do shit. It's hard to do anything, and you can't really close your fist too either appropriately if it's all swollen or whatever, and it can cause a problem. And if you jam it again by hitting somebody, it really hurts really bad because the pain just shoots all the way up your arm into your shoulder. It's not fun. So, I don't know what has happened to her, but I couldn't hold on to things very well, and I didn't have. I just remember it just not ever feeling right. So I was like, how can I do this? And you go to a physical therapist, and they have all these like little techniques where, oh, well, stick your hand in a thing of sand and then pull your hand out, like kind of make, open and close motions in a bucket of sand. And I'm like, yeah, that works okay, but it's limiting. And then they have, oh, well, scrunch up paper, like, with a flat hand and then scrunch it up. And I was like, that works good for your other fingers, but it's not really good for your thumb. So my ex-husband came up with this idea of cutting a PCV pipe into, I don't know if you have weights that the weights come off and you kind of unscrew them on both ends and you have the handle in between. Well, you put the PCV pipe, which is like, I don't know, it's got to be like the diameter, I don't know, like 6 inches or 4 inches in diameter, like across. And so it's a wide grip. You can't bring your fingers together to hold it. And you put it on like maybe a 5-pound weights on each side, and you keep increasing the weights a little bit, like 6 pounds. You keep adding weights on each side of it, and you can hold it, and you just hold it, walk around with it. Don't do anything in it. Don't do anything. You just walk with it in your hand. And what it does is it increases the circulation in that area, in your wrist and in your thumb, so clean blood gets in there and gets all the junk out and starts to stimulate the tendons to work again and work more proficiently. And then too, you can, as you're squeezing it and holding on to it, you can do like wrist reps and stuff, and either backwards or forwards, and it helps to heal your thumb. It was the only thing that actually healed my thumb and got it back to normal, where I didn't have like that arthritis feeling that you could have where your joints feel like not right. So it was kind of a really good technique, and nobody ever listens to me on it because they don't want to cut the freaking PCV pipe at the right lengths to fit onto one of those dumbbells that you screw on the weights and you screw them off. But it is the best thing for healing a hand or wrist, finger injuries, like say your pinky gets injured, or those weird kind of joints in your hands. It's the best thing to help recover your hand. I mean, I used it for a couple of things, not only my thumb, and it was the best thing to get it back into shape where I didn't have that arthritic, chronic achiness or anything like that. And I mean, if you're a striker, you don't want to be hitting something and then feel like, shit, that hurts afterwards, or several hours later you got that achy where you got to take medication for it to, subside inflammation or anything like that. So it really did help. So that's my little, health point, whatever, but it really did help me. And hopefully, if she did that, maybe we could get her back in the cage a little bit sooner if DeRandamie kind of has a good physical therapist or whatever to get her thumb back together. That would be good. I mean, we don't know what's going on with that. I just heard a ligament damage sort of thing. But back to Holly, she's looking for a rematch because she didn't think, she thought by the sound of it, most fight fans, everybody was thinking, even Dana White thought it was kind of like, a point should have been taken away. It's a questionable win for DeRandamie because of how it was played out. So DeRandamie, whether or not she would be up for a rematch, who knows? It's likely. But when you're looking at a division where you don't know who the next opponent would be, which, Cyborg, this was the other thing too, Cyborg, she, it's possible that the Drug Administration will kind of release her from anything. She won't, it's still questionable, but it looks like she might get off without anything happening. And because the diuretic that she was taken for an emergency kind of situation where she needed it for her health to recover from those weight cuts that she had, I think, in last September. So that looks good, but when that decision is made, nobody knows. I mean, it could be, in the next month, or it could be in the fall of, this year, which is a long time out. And who the next contender would be is like, your guess is good as mine. I mean, like, who could do it? I mean, I was looking over the rosters for Invicta, and the only other one that's on there is Megan Anderson, that's like really kind of up and coming and is on a winning streak, that would be a really good contender because she can throw freaking punches. Like, I mean, she's got knockout power. She's got like nasty punches. And that's what DeRandamie was looking for with Holm. She's like, I'm a brawler. I want to brawl. And, Holm didn't want to brawl with me. She held me up against the cage, and Holm kind of denied that in her post-fight interview, but like, that's what I saw. She pulled the Randy Couture, and she does that on a regular basis, and then she circles around on the outside, which is safe, but she does that with tough opponents, and it's just not enough to get the job done. And that's the freaking bottom line with her. And I mean, I really like her. I love it when she knocks somebody out with a head kick and all that, but everybody knows her game. They know her game. And I mean, you could just sit back and counter-strike the whole thing and just make sure your punches hit, and you're going to beat her. And that's why she's 3 down now, and her position in the UFC is kind of questionable. If they offer her another fight, which I'm sure they will, it's great, but she's kind of in that position where she's really got to prove herself, and that's a tough position to come back from. And, just like, Ronda Rousey, she's got to come back from 2 losses if she comes back at all. But it's likely that, well, who knows? We don't know if that'll happen. She could come back and surprise us all and go after the 1 foot. Wouldn't that be something? I'd be like, oh my God, doing a jig. But she could. But then I don't think she wants to fight Cyborg after that. So it is up in the air. I mean, I was looking over the rosters and stuff like that. That division is so split up. I mean, Bellator has a bunch of women that fight for them, but I'm not sure that anybody's fought really all that recently. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's really iffy. Bellator has people under contract. Like Julia Budd would be awesome, but who knows? Who knows? Marlis Kunin, like those are names that we recognize that have actually, I think, fought Cyborg before. If once Cyborg gets in there, but your guess is as good as mine as when this is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen until the summer, if anything. And do we want it to be a main card, event? It's just not that. It's not that thrilling right now, unless Cyborg is on the card and you get somebody who's really going to be like a really good contender and is. Do we think that Germaine is a good contender for Cyborg? Maybe that could be a real good brawl. It would definitely go stand up, but as soon as Cyborg gets her to the ground, I mean, God only knows that's going to end devastatingly. I think everybody knows who's going to win that fight. So, are they going to make any money off of that fight? I don't know. It's a tough one to call. Really? Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. It's looking. I don't know how they're gonna pull this unless somebody just comes out of the woodwork that we don't even know and just just comes out of someplace. I don't know. Invicta's got like so the next fights that are coming up for women's MMA are Invicta FC on March 25th. And we have Tanya Evinger, which also I think she could go up to 145 or be in that. I mean, maybe she could. She's got a rematch against Yana Kutinskaya. That's a fun name to say. And that should be a good fight. That's lined up for the 25th. And then we won't see another woman's fight until UFC 210 with Caitlin, I don't know how to say her name, Chutigan and Irene Aldaner, and that's a bantamweight fight. So not much really happening for the ladies coming up. Anything local? I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into, but there's not really that much happening. And since Ronda Rousey has left, it doesn't seem all that thrilling right now, which is kind of a little, it's interesting to see how this is going to play out for women's mixed martial arts. And that's I think how I'm going to leave it today. I'm kind of like, hopefully something comes up that'll be exciting.
Ending on such a somber note.
I know. I feel a little somber because it's like you don't know really how this is going to go for the ladies right now. I mean, Invicta's doing a great job. With there's a lot of good women on their cards, and that March 25th card should be interesting and should be a good. But for the UFC, I don't know what's going on there, man. There's the cards that are coming up are kind of like, even for the guys, I'm like, okay, I don't know. They don't seem all that thrilling. Maybe it's just too much. I don't know.
Honestly, they might they're doing UFCs more often. I mean, they're starting to flood us with content, and they're starting, the UFC's just starting to stray away from traditional martial arts. It's way too capitalist. It's way too it's sports entertainment at this point. It's fantasy fights. There's not an actual ranking system,
Well, they went beyond the ranking system. I mean, in this last fight with the women, and then they got nothing.
There's no semblance of an actual integrity as if it's a sport ranking system.
Yeah, and I don't know how they can get away with that. It kind of spoiled it a little bit because
Cody Garbrandt went from, I think, ranked 16 to ranked 9 to ranked 5 to ranked 1, and now he's the champ.
Yeah, and it's like, how did that happen?
TJ Dillashaw didn't even get a fight, even though he was the champ and he lost in that same weight division, and he had to fight, he fought someone that was 20th for his next fight, and they wouldn't give him the fight, to the point where he said, wow, if I don't get a shot at the title, this is rigged. That's how frustrated your own fighters are, where they say that after they win their fight.
Well, we were talking at the bar too about I don't know if you remember Pride and how the fighters used to come out and they'd put on a show, and I think fans really like that.
It was 2 10-minute rounds.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, like...
Head stomps and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of... I mean, you have to protect the fighter, and I mean, I get that, but it was pretty
I understand
exciting.
having it not be as barbaric, to try and have it revolve around specifically technique and skill and nothing that, like a headbutt and stuff like that. That I completely understand.
Yeah, but
the theatrics of it.
Yeah, I mean, which was really fun. You don't see that happening so much. And the other thing, too, is, is this whole Reebok thing. I mean, it was kind of fun to watch. Okay, what are they going to wear for T-shirts to set in some style or something? And they've just neutralized everything and sterilized it. They sterilized
it's watered down.
And I mean, when Ronda Rousey was there, it wasn't sterilized. It was kind of like, it was a little exciting. I mean, yeah, everybody said she's a one-trick pony, but it was like some excitement was happening. When Cyborg was in it too, there's excitement. But the excitement is not even around the fight because everybody knows that she's going to win. Like, it's more of like, okay, how come she's not there? Or how come she, she had this drug thing. So everybody's kind of like talking about that. And that's the excitement that we're talking about. We're not even talking about the fight.
It's gossip.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gossip.
It's all gossip. And there's not even any shit talking. Like, I mean, it would have been kind of fun if there was some shit talking between Holly Holm and Germaine. Maybe if there's a rematch, there could be some shit talking. I'm like, Holly, do some shit talking or something.
They probably felt like what you've been saying, and they're like, we don't even know why we're fighting each other. I can't even hate this person. I don't even know why I'm fighting him.
Well, maybe now she can because she hit her after the bell.
So at the very least, yeah, there's potential for a rematch. But it's going to be hard to cut a promo on both of them when it's kind of unmotivated as to why they're fighting in the first place.
Yeah.
There's no storyline there. Yeah. Usually, at least there's some sort of storyline, not one they constructed, but they've either met before, someone in the same camp, they don't like each other for this reason, similar styles or something.
Yeah, it fell so flat. I mean, it could have been kind of like fun to watch them, like even in the post-fight interview, but I was like, why the hell did Germaine leave with a thumb injury and had to go to the hospital? Couldn't she have gone after?
It's a thumb injury.
It's a freaking thumb injury.
She doesn't have to walk on her thumbs.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it can be painful, but was it a break or anything? No. They said it was, I don't know what happened. I mean, I just found a little piece on it. There wasn't really much on it about a ligament in her thumb. But I'm like, could she have been there? And could they have kind of like, glared at each other or something after the fight and said, I want a rematch or whatever? But there was none of that. And I'm like,
dead.
It was exactly. It was. Really,
I can't believe that was a pay-per-view fight.
Nobody can.
Like,
and people don't want it to happen fight. Again.
There's been better fight nights that I've seen for free on TV.
Yeah, and the bar I was at too. There wasn't very many people there. Usually it's packed.
Usually they're going crazy too.
Especially this time of year, people are looking at it. It was a weekend that we were. I mean, here in New England, we were like snowed in. We needed something.
Right.
Yeah, I was like so anxious to get the hell out, and see something. I mean, it was kind of fun to watch, but not for the main event. Definitely not that. So yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it's like, okay, how's this going to play out? We need some excitement, or maybe we've just been spoiled for a while with some really good contenders and
some good contenders, but now there's not as much merit as there used to be.
Yeah,
it's just put a new fighter in there. Hopefully they get 2 or 3 fights in a row, we can hype them, as opposed to just having maybe one of these. So they should be earning their way up in the division. Maybe sometimes the champion should fight 3 people that shouldn't be in the ring in the first place, but that's where they're at.
Yeah,
as opposed to forcing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Clean them out. Let them get better.
Yeah.
And go through them. I mean, that's what that happened with Anderson Silva at a certain point.
Oh, yeah.
He was blown, but they were still giving him fights. They were still feeding him fights.
Yeah.
And they were motivated. They made sense. It was who was next in line. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you're going to, I mean, George St. Pierre, he was blowing through people. And it's like, I don't know. It just seems like at this point they just want to do like fantasy fights.
Maybe that's what it is.
With each one. This will be a good matchup, and this will be a good matchup.
This Holly Holm and Germaine De Randamie, that was no fantasy fight at all.
I know. Like you were saying, like you've been saying, it made no sense.
Everybody was like, this is weird. And then they were
you can try and find a reason for it, but it ain't going to happen.
Cyborg is the Phantom of the Opera. Like she's going to be in New York. And it's like, I mean, I was glad to see her there. I think, it was nice to see her there, and I'm sure she was pleased. So I'm sure, like, they're trying to, negotiate something with her. But it would have been interesting too to see Amanda Nunes there, because Amanda, I think, could fight at that weight, which would be an exciting fight to see her fight. And it'd actually be exciting to see her and Cyborg fight.
Right.
You know, 2 champs.
How old Cyborg?
Oh God, she's got to be in her late 20s, I think. I don't know. She's got to be up there. She's been around for a while.
Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, you looking it up?
Is 31.
31. I was going to say either 29
so
or 31.
So I mean, you start to dip.
Yeah.
This is coming down, in the next couple of years.
Yeah. How long can she maintain that
This should be the prime for this person.
Exactly.
For everyone to see.
Exactly.
So that's frustrating.
Yeah. And I mean, she's fought already in the UFC twice. And she went down to 140. And I'm like, she should have been the one to fight. And they should have held off for her. She could have fought in March on this up-and-coming card, which would have been way better.
Right.
Why they forced this right now is...
I mean, it's good for them. Maybe they're going to start acting right. Maybe they're going to listen to the fans and go, wow, like the sales weren't good on this. We didn't get good feedback from it. Hopefully he listens.
They do.
Hopefully they listen.
Yeah, I wonder what they made, on
It couldn't
on
have been
this.
good.
No,
it made no
I
sense.
don't know where to look that up. But
it made zero sense. We were both going to get it, and we looked at the card. We were just kind of like,
that's
I don't
what
really
everybody
know.
did. That's why I went out down the street to a bar to watch.
It was like Glover Teixeira, but like he's like 37 now too. He's like it was like older names.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, I mean the fights were okay.
Yeah,
they were okay.
But it was like watching like exhibition games, or like watching preseason games.
And some of them felt like
and
that.
Not a pay-per-view.
And watching them, some of them felt like that.
Yeah, like you're not following a storyline. Like, sometimes, like for example, the winner of this is the most recent one that I saw, Dominic Cruz and Cody Garbrandt. The winner of that one's going to fight T.J. Dillashaw.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you're excited, and so you're like, oh man, if this person wins, then this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But if, I'd like to see this fight. And,
now you just don't
and it kind of sets things up.
Think of that, Nick. Wow.
Just like storylines,
Yeah.
of like rematches and stuff like that. But it doesn't. But even that made no sense. Because when TJ Dillashaw lost, 3 fights went by, and he said he never even got to fight Dominic Cruz again, because that's how many fights went by.
Wow.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, and that would be a good fight, right?
Oh, I would love that fight again.
Yeah.
I have such a man crush on TJ Dillashaw. Oh, I love TJ Dillashaw so much. He's so good. He was Renan Barao was blowing through people. He beat Uriah Faber 2 times.
Yeah.
So this is when Uriah Faber was starting to really just kind of lose more fights. Nobody could beat Renan Barao, and TJ Dillashaw just studied Renan Barao and went in there and just like politely dismantled him.
Wow.
Just at every move he had the perfect game plan, and no one had seen it before. It was unreal. And then his fight with Dominic Cruz, it went 5 rounds, and it was like it should have. How often do you see a title change happen when it goes 5 rounds? So it was really close. It really could have gone to either one, which it always goes to the champ, and they gave it to Cruz.
That's always weird when they
and
do
the
that.
whole
You
fight,
can never let it go to the judges.
Both of them were bloody, but it was like, Shelley, you have to see the fight. It was like chess. The angled punches, the movement on both of them was insane.
What card was that
They
on?
both could barely hit each other. I'd have to find it.
Yeah.
I'll show you after the
yeah, because I'm like, I don't know if I saw it or not. Like, it's
Christ, there's so many fights nowadays. It's insane.
It's such a blur.
I'll see a fight and forgot that I saw it.
Yeah,
my God, who won that?
I'm like, did I see that one? I'm like, oh yeah.
That's because I'm so excited as it's going on. I completely forget afterwards.
That's the thing too. It's like when you're watching these fights, you're like, okay, how do they do? And it's like you have to kind of watch them a second time if you're, like to see
separate
what
yourself
actually
emotionally.
What's really going on, as opposed to when you're in the moment of it and watching, and you're like, oh my God, I want this person to win or not. But yeah, most of them, I'm like, it's become a kind of a blur, especially if you're drinking.
which the two complement each other very well.
Yes, they do.
It's like wine and cheese.
Yeah, they do, for sure. I know. I felt a little a little bummed, because I was like, where's this going to go?
I mean, but that has to happen. You can't have each one be a banger of a pay-per-view. But but this one specifically, across the board, there was no fights on it.
Yeah, it was a tough card for sure. And yeah, to have it kind of end in a little bit of controversy,
hopefully it paves the way for other organizations to give the UFC some competition.
Well,
Seriously.
that would be good. Yeah,
that would
be good. Well,
MySpace was popular for a while, then Facebook came along.
Yeah, some of these other girls that are on different. That are signed with different promotions, but there's nothing happening with them, and I'm like, well, now there's this opportunity for them to actually fight in the UFC, and I'm like, I'm wondering if they'll try to get out of their contracts with, like, say Bellator for one, because I don't know we were talking about that too. It's like Bellator. I was like, when are they on? When did they have their last show? I have no idea, and I used to watch them.
We just started watching the Eddie Bravo International, where it's only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Shelley, you'd love it. You can only win by submission. You can only win.
Do they do like multiple fights, and like does the fighter do multiple fights like an old UFC style stuff?
Yep, multiple fights in the same night. It's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh!
I'll have to send you a link of that too. We just saw a couple of fights the other night, and if the time is up, you get into an advantageous position. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say they get side control on you, okay? Yeah. Let's say they, 3 minutes goes by. Let's say they tap you out in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Now you get on top, same position, you get a beat 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And then let's say that goes by, then they have your back. The positions get more and more advantageous.
Right, so it's like
and then if you get tapped, you have to go, and then you have to beat the clock. And each one ends in a submission.
So it is like a chess game because you got to beat the clock.
100%.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the old UFC style.
It's
kind
only
of fighting,
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
But only Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's awesome because sometimes someone gets tapped really quick. Sometimes you see this crazy sweeps going on.
Nice. So do they stand? They can stand up and do throws and stuff like that. Any striking or?
No, there's no striking. There's no striking.
So it's kind of like...
it's minimal on the feet. Because
they end up on the ground pretty fast.
It's right. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes, they'll try to antagonize each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then once it goes to the ground, and what's great about that is you don't see that in the UFC. You don't see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pure, and it's pure raw form.
Pure. So is it gi too, or is it no gi?
No gi.
No gi. Ooh, wow.
Right.
Wow. Oh, that sounds cool.
It's awesome.
So how many fights have they had? How long has it been on?
It's getting bigger and bigger. I think that, I don't know. I mean, it's been going on for like maybe 2 years now.
I mean, I've heard him on like the Joe Rogan Experience before. Yeah. I think he's been on that.
Yeah. And so it's just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And he's the one that set this all up.
And the Eddie Bravo International. Cool. Oh, no, Invitational.
Invitational.
I think Chael Sonnen is starting to do his own organization as well, and he's using EBI, the Eddie Bravo. Those are his own set of rules.
Very cool.
And then Eddie Bravo was like, "Yeah, dude, go ahead and use the rules. That's fine."
Are any women doing it?
Not that I know of, but
I could see that happen. And there's a lot.
Easily. No,
there's so many.
They
more
have better
women
cardio than men do.
Yeah. There's so many, and the flexibility alone. I mean,
exactly.
I couldn't believe, like, which we haven't really seen it demonstrated that much in, say, the UFC, watching women, because that's really the biggest thing that watches them. I can remember years ago, I don't know where it was. I don't know if I was out. I don't know where it was, but the women would like roll out of things. It was an all-girl card. Who was it? It was out in the Midwest, but it was an all-female card. It was before like Invicta, and some of the girls would do these, like, guys would never get out of this hold, and these girls would like do a full like backbend cartwheel like out of some submission.
Not even the flexibility in the legs, but especially in the back.
The spine, their arm, well, their arms too. Like their arms, they could like spaghetti arms, literally. And you're like, oh my god,
full range of motion.
Yeah, like I mean, hyperextend and not hurt at all. Not hurt at all.
It looks comfortable.
And I'd sit there and I was like, how did she finagle out of that? I just don't even know.
That's what's amazing
like Gumby, too. Like they were Gumbies. And
that's what's really amazing too, because a lot of times when you have punches and stuff thrown in there,
and it was fast,
and you have to worry about those. But what's cool about when it's just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they can really sustain. They're not afraid of getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
They can only focus on escaping the submission.
Right, exactly.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have any of that ground and pound happening while
and even if nobody... Oh, and their camera angles were great on it, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what station it's on?
No.
Like,
no.
who's covering it?
Honestly,
did they have a contract?
It came up in conversation, and we thought to ourselves, why haven't we watched it yet? Because we both thought about it separately, and then we both talked about it at the same time, and we were like, yeah, like, why don't we just... Let's try and find it online, like, find a link somewhere of a couple of fights.
Wow,
we managed to find...
really cool.
I think there was one streaming on YouTube.
Wow, maybe that's how they're doing it, and just doing, like, setting it up in some place.
Just get it out there. Just get it out there.
Oh, wow. I would love to do that with a women's thing.
Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, years ago, I was trying
that's
to put
made
a
more for women
together.
than it is men. Like you were saying, the flexibility and just the capability of it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that would be really cool.
You don't need to be a big, strong man, and, like, it has nothing to do with that. It's all leverage.
Yeah. Well, they had, they have Naga now, which is all, like, just the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they have these tournaments, and they have them regularly, I don't know, every few months or whatever. And they're always, like, this long, incredibly long day, and, they have all different divisions, and it's all different, belt levels that compete. But it's such a long, drawn-out kind of experience, for people to go and watch, and you have your kids divisions, your women's divisions, your men's. I mean, I guess they do a good job of it. It's been going on for years, but, like, why they haven't, the guy that runs it in this area, he used to run shows, but why they haven't done something like what you're describing would be, like, so cool to do. Like, taking his, he has, I don't know.
March 5th is the next one. Holy shit.
That's close.
That's going to be an awesome weekend. That's going to be UFC 209. Yeah. Tyrone Woodley versus Wonder Boy 2.
Yes, yes.
And then the next day's going to be Eddie Bravo. Oh, my God.
Busy weekend, but no girls on any of that, though.
Oh, Jesus.
There's no women on any of that.
Yeah, well, they're catching up at an expedient rate, to say the least.
I wish they'd sign somebody or get somebody in on that. I wonder how much they're paying these fighters. Are they paying them anything, or is it just kind of like, is it... do they fight for belts or?
Well, here's the thing though. They're not getting injured like they do in the UFC.
Yeah.
They can go and can continue the rest of their night afterwards. They could just be rolling with their friends the night before and going, sure they're gonna be preparing for it and stuff like that and training harder, but it's no wear and tear in their bodies. Nothing.
It's got to be on their joints.
No, but nothing like. I'm sorry, but nothing like the
damage of
destruction
getting cut.
like that.
Yeah,
they can play. They can play, and they know that their knees are going to go in this and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's nothing like where it's concussions and they're losing days of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the.
So it might be safer, like a safer sport to do.
It's gotta be the no impact of getting hit in the head.
But people love punching and striking and kicking. I love that.
I know, but sometimes it just gets lazy, and it doesn't even. Sometimes it just looks lazy.
Yeah.
You have to have two people that really know what they're doing, because sometimes it's people just kind of sparring. It looks like if they're not both going in.
Yeah.
But with this, you have to try. If it's Brazil, you can't stand there. You can't lay there. You're gonna get submitted.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than watching a fight that looks like a sparring match that you'd see at your gym.
And that
happens so often.
Can't happen with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so that's why it's really cool.
Yeah, you can't
You'll
just
get
lie
submitted.
there.
You'll get submitted.
You can't just lie there.
Can't. That's why I was really impressed when I saw it, because every single match, you
they didn't get like tied up and just holding in one place or like in guard or like they're always active. I'm trying to envision it because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. They're always working towards something.
Huh.
Yeah, because you don't have an incentive to just lay there and hold it.
Yeah, I wonder what their contract situation is like, and what kind of fighters.
It's new.
Yeah, and what kind of fighters?
No one I know.
Nobody, just like new guys.
Oh my God! There's one with Eddie. There's one with Eddie Bravo, and he goes against Hoist Gracie. He goes against a Gracie. Yeah.
How was that?
He smoked him.
I'm sure.
There's a whole story behind it on Joe Rogan's podcast, but we actually saw the fight that we heard the podcast like a year ago. Then we saw the fight recently, and like Eddie Bravo has gi pants on.
Yeah.
The Gracie doesn't. So like, Eddie Bravo goes to like do a couple of things, and he holds on and he holds on to his pants, but at the same time, Eddie Bravo is able to really lock in certain submissions. He got him in oh my God, what is it called? It's an electric chair sweep. He made Hoist Gracie do a vertical split 3 times.
Holy shit!
It was insane. But he's able to do that because he's not sliding off of his legs.
Right.
So it worked against him sometimes, and it worked with him sometimes. If he could do it again, he'd rather have the gi pants.
Wow.
There's a couple. I only saw one, so I can't speak too prominently on it if it's all no gi or if it's any of it's gi.
I'll have to check that out. That sounds really cool.
But that's definitely made for women. Are you kidding me?
That sounds really cool. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're on the 11th one right now, so it's, I mean, that's like watching UFC 11. I mean, it's a baby.
It's a baby. Even some of the other women that aren't really, getting the fights anymore too, that still practice the jiu-jitsu more so, or are very active in that. I mean, Peggy Morgan too. Like, I mean, she retired, but maybe and she's teaching.
That's what I'm saying.
The Brazilian jiu-jitsu to women, and yet I think she still has that competitiveness, like where she probably still wants to get back in there, but she doesn't want to get punched in the face. This was another episode of Evolve Women's MMA. Feel free to like us, comment, and share on Facebook.com/I love